दृष्टि नम्र जीवन से सबको वो सुख देता है। शीतल दृष्टि नम्र जीवन से सबको वो सुख देता है। जैसे बरसे झरझर बादल दिल से दुआएं लुटाता है। निर्मल चिंतन निस्वार्थ भाव से निर्मल चिंतन निस्वार्थ भाव से सुंदर रचता अपना जहान। सुंदर रचता अपना जहान। ईश्वर से जो प्रीत लगाए बन जाए वो गुणवान। बन जाए वो गुणवान। जैसे धार से पत्थर पिघले कष्टों को सह कर खुद को बदले। जैसे धार से पत्थर पिघले कष्टों को सह कर खुद को बदले। दृढ़ता की वो मूरत बनकर चलता
ओम शांति। So, Om Shanti. So we have understood a little about ourselves, that I am a soul, and what are my qualities and what are my organs. So we know that I am a soul, I am not a body. I have 7 basic qualities, then I have sanskars, I have a mind and a buddhi and all of that. Now, we have understood who am I. Yesterday and before that we discussed the true essence of who I am. Earlier in life, we thought of ourselves differently. Whenever somebody asked us who we are, then we addressed it differently, by our name, by how we look, our religion, profession, everything else. But now we understand more that we are not all of that. That is a physical context, but I am actually a soul. Now, similarly, there is another question, just like who am I, there is another question, who is mine? Because we in the session yesterday came up to this realization that who I consider as mine are not mine. They are souls on a journey, right? So, when each one is a soul on a journey, and my expectations cannot be fulfilled through them, because until now we thought that I have a right to expect from them, or they owe me love, they owe me attention, they owe me care and support. Yes, we thought that it is very reasonable for us to expect, if not physical sustenance, at least love, care, support, respect, these things from the other soul that is with me, who I consider as my family member or as my relative or as somebody I'm related to. But yesterday, we were told that everybody is a soul on a journey, and even if you expect, you will only be disappointed by your expectation, because not everybody will have the capacity to give you what you are seeking from them, right? So if we keep seeking from somebody who is empty, we will end up being disappointed. This is what we learnt. But the thing is, I'm still empty and I need to fill myself. And I not only this practice of being a soul and paying attention to my full qualities and radiating it to the other is okay. I will use my qualities and they will enhance. But then the human soul always seeks relationships. Yes? And then when I'm seeking a relationship, then I need to know who is it who will fulfill me. If not these people who I live with, who is it that will fulfill me? I, the soul, come alone, go alone, but I must belong to somebody. Yes? I must belong to somebody, and who is that somebody I belong to? That is something we have to understand. So, who in your opinion do you belong to, or who in your opinion belongs to you? So, as a person who identified with their body and other things, we thought that we belong to the people we call our family. But then that sense of belongingness, or what should come from that belongingness, is not very often being experienced. So now the question arises, who do I really belong to? We belong to the Almighty. So because we are born in India and there is a certain awareness, although very, very subconscious, but there is a certain awareness that there is somebody called God and we belong to that someone, that Almighty, that God. Now the thing is, although we say this, do we really have a relationship with God? How many of you think that you have a relationship with God, or you really think that God is the one who you share that bond with, that bond which is enriching, which is refreshing, which is nurturing? More often than not, we are not in that place where we feel that we have a relationship with God. Am I right? So although we conceptually understand that we should have a relationship with God, it is not very often that we experience a relationship with God. And mostly what I have understood by talking to several people is that there is one relationship with God which they more often than not experience, and that is the relationship of a savior, रक्षा करने वाला या बचाने वाला. So in times when I am in trouble, or in times when I need some salvation, or I need somebody to help me or pull me out of trouble, then those are the times we turn to God, because that is the only relationship perhaps that we have developed over several births with God. And because of this, we turn to people for other relationships. Like if we are not in trouble and we just need love, we don't go to God. Yes. If we need knowledge, we don't go to God. We go to teachers. we go to the school so to get knowledge. We don't go to God for purity. We clean our homes and we detox and do this and that for purity. So we don't have a relationship with God when it concerns these things, and then there is an indirect relationship with God where we think that God is the provider. So we have come to this very convoluted equation where we think that I, the soul, actually am a body and my needs are physical. So we don't think that we need happiness or love or bliss or power or purity or knowledge. So earlier I did not categorize my needs into these things. Yes, we thought of it more as the need for name and fame, the need for recognition, the need for acknowledgement, the need to be respected, the need to have a big house, the need to have property, money. These are the things that we actually think were our needs. Am I right? So we did not think that our needs are knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power. So through this knowledge, first we have come to this understanding that basically I am a spiritual being operating in a material dimension. And because I have been in this material dimension for very long, I have confused my material needs with physical needs. Yes, so now I have come to this place of confusion within myself where I think I need a big house and name and fame and recognition and acknowledgement, but actually what I need is peace, purity, love, bliss, knowledge, power. Yes, so we are trying to fill the hole in the soul with material things. So now we have understood in some manner that actually the void that we are experiencing is spiritual in nature. It is not material, although we have started to think that it is material, and we have been in a process of quenching that void or filling that void through material things and material acquisitions for very long. It is not a material void actually. Now that we have come to this understanding, now we know it is actually knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power that we need. And when we understand we need this, then we must understand another thing, which is no soul on the planet right now has the kind of knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power that can fulfill me. Right? So every soul that you are operating with or you are not operating with, every soul on the planet today is empty and depleted. So because every soul on the planet is empty and depleted, so even if you seek endlessly from them, they will not be able to fulfill you, because they don't have what you are requiring or what you need for them or from them, or what you are seeking from them. So what we have to understand is, just like you cannot charge yourself from a discharged battery. Can you charge yourself from a discharged battery? If the battery of your phone is discharged and I give you another discharged battery and give you a mechanism whereby you can pull the charge of one battery into another battery, then the other battery, which is in itself discharged, cannot actually give you charge enough to feel charged. So this is what is happening. We are trying to get, we are trying to take, we are trying to sustain ourselves spiritually from souls who are spiritually depleted. And yesterday we used a term which is weak soul. So everybody who is a weak soul is around us, and we are trying to fill the void in ourselves from them, and that is not possible. And that is why we are all ending up being frustrated and depleted. Let me give you a very simple example of an employee and a boss. Okay, so the employee thinks that the boss is a powerful person. Yes, and the boss thinks that that the employee is very crucial to my existence. So the boss is banking on the employee, and the employee is trying to bank upon the boss. But both of them are depleted, and that is why, however much they are trying to help each other, they are again caught up in that expectation when they feel that the other is not doing enough for them. And then there is a relationship which we share which is less than cordial or less than harmonious. So it is because in our perception we think that the other soul which is around us has the capacity to fill that which we are seeking, but practically it is not so. So we end up being frustrated. Now, when each one is depleted, what we actually need is we need to connect to the one who is full. Yes? Now, what is this word connect about? Let's understand this first thing. What is this connection that we call that we are talking about? Like, we have in your lifetime, when you have tried to understand meditation, then in one or the other place you must have come across this definition that meditation is connection with God. Yes? So when we say connection, we say yoga. Yoga is meditation. So yoga simply means plus. When one thing connects to the other, that is yoga, that is a connect. And when you connect, when I, the soul who am depleted, connect with the one who is full, then that is called meditation, because the law of energy is it moves from a higher to a lower source. Right? So that is why meditation recharges you. But the thing is, this connection that we are talking about, we have to understand one thing. Whenever we connect with anybody, then we get colored by that connection. In Hindi we say स्मृति का स्थिति से connection है. स्मृति का स्थिति से संबंध है. Mana, if you remember somebody, it will affect your state of mind. Okay? The one you remember affects your state of mind. Alright? Now, how do you connect to somebody? Now, if I ask you, if instead of meditation or connection, if we use a very simple word which is remembrance, yaad karna. Yes? Now, when we remember somebody, जब हम किसी को याद करते हैं, तो उसकी स्थिति मेरी स्थिति बन जाती है. Okay? Remembrance is smriti. So when I remember somebody, their state of mind becomes my state of mind. This is the law. Now, you just let me know one simple thing. How do you remember somebody? हम दिन भर लोगों को इसको उसको याद करते हैं ना. Everybody remembers every other person, right? तो जब हम याद करते हैं तो याद करने का क्या मतलब होता है? कैसे याद करते हैं आप? How do you remember somebody? हाँ, वेट अ सेकेंड. हाँ जी, चौरसिया भाई साहब बोलिए.
Just we take their physical outlook in our subconscious mind.
Yes, yes, very good. And तेजल क्या कह रहे हो?
We remember about the times that we have spent with them or the memories or what they said and all these things.
Okay, very good. So now there is a remembrance where we remember people who we have been with or we have memory with, right? But we might remember something that I watched on television. Yes, maybe I watched a speech by somebody and then I remember that, and it's a hate speech. Okay, and then it starts to disturb me. That is possible, right? So how do you remember that hate speech? Now I have not had an experience with that person, or I do not have a physical memory, but then because I watched it on television, there is a memory, and then I access that memory, right? Now another thing is, you might remember what you read in the physics class. Yes, you read something in the physics class and then you remember that. Now you don't have a audio visual memory of that. You read it somewhere and then you remember that, and it also starts affecting your state of mind. Yes, for example, you read something in the biology class or in medical science, and then when you remember that, it starts to influence how you think and feel in that situation, right? So remembrance can be based not only on concrete experience based memory. It could be based on memory, based on how we watched audio visual or something. It could be a memory based on knowledge also, because when you receive an information, you can remember what that information told you and what that piece of knowledge brought into your awareness, and when you remember that also, that colors your mind. So about remembrance, there are many things that we need to know. First is, some things we see and remember. Yes, some things we see and understand, and based on that understanding we create a memory. Some things we understand and see. Okay? Some things you see and understand, some things you understand and see. Right? For example, how did you see, how did the knowledge of physics or chemistry that you received register in your mind? You understood it, and because you understood it, you could create an image of it. Correct? There are many things which you can't see, but when you understand them, it becomes a part of your awareness or your memory, of your smriti, right? For example, the knowledge about radiations. Yes, you know that Wi-Fi that you use is radiating certain things, and then it affects your mind and your skin and this and that. Now, this is not something you can see. Can you see the radiation? You can't see the radiation. But because you have been educated about it, as soon as you see a Wi-Fi connection, you can kind of see radiations. You can visualize that, okay, this is radiating something that is harmful to us, right? Or if you, for example, you know that bats can hear sounds that you can't hear. So this is a piece of knowledge. So when you see two bats in your vicinity, you might come to a conclusion that they are talking to each other and I can't hear it, because they can communicate at a frequency which is not audible to me. Got it? So you have to understand that our physical senses have a range. Our physical senses have a range. We can't see everything that is around us. We can't hear every sound that is there in the environment. Our skin has a range. We can feel up to a certain range of temperature from some degree to some degree. And if the temperature is below that, then when you touch the something that is below the temperature of the perceptible temperature of your skin, which is not within that range, then if something is too cold, that is below that range, then if you touch that object, your skin will get burnt, but you will not feel cold. So this is what we have to understand. There are things that are perceptible through these five senses. So if something falls in that range, then we see it, hear it, and then we have a memory, and then we can remember it. We can connect with it, and then that memory will color us. And there are some things which are beyond this range of our perception. They are beyond five senses, like radiations and sounds that you can't hear. So you need understanding in order to become cognizant of these things. So there are some things which you see and understand, and then it becomes part of your memory. There are other things which you understand and see. That is why in English, when somebody understands something, they say, I see. Okay, you use this expression, I see, which means I understand. So when you understand, your intellect is able to create a picture out of it. Yes? And when you have understood something, you can access that memory. And when you access that memory, then it starts to color you. This is one way of remembering. Another way of remembering is when you connect with somebody, then their state of mind becomes your state of mind. Now, what I'm talking about is not accessing a memory, but actually having a connection with somebody. Now, mothers are very aware of this connection, because mothers, when they are connected with their children and their children are away from home, then they will experience, whenever they think of their child, they will get this feeling if something is okay with the child or not okay with the child. Okay, so you have an intuitive sense of what's going on there because you are connected with that person. Okay, now there have been experiments which prove this connection, and I will share one experiment with you. It is a well documented experiment, and in that experiment there is somebody who is sitting in some part of the world and another person who is sitting in another part of the world. And then this person is asked, the first person is asked to think something about the second person. And he is not told what to think, but it has been proved by way of experiment that when this person thinks about the other person's certain thoughts, then the other person gets the same thoughts at that same time. So this is the connection that I am talking about. So mentally, when you connect, there is a communication. And there is a communication which is possible based on this mental connection. And it is like you can download or upload information into each other's minds depending on the connection. Now, how this connection works is very similar to how a Bluetooth works. Okay, now for a Bluetooth to work, the device should be connected, two devices should be connected, right? So you have to switch on the Bluetooth from one device and switch on the Bluetooth from another device, and then they will have a connection. Similarly, this connection that I'm talking about is, if I'm thinking about you and you are thinking about me and our minds are connected, then we will have an exchange which is beyond words. Yes, so, and you must be experiencing this that this time also, that when you are mentally connected to the place I'm sitting in and to me, then it's not just what is being heard or spoken which is being conveyed, but much more than that. Yes, so when I'm tuning into you and you are tuning into me, there is an exchange which is not limited just to words. There is an exchange of feelings, there is an exchange of ideas, there is an exchange of vibration which takes place when there is a mental connect. Yes, and there are stories in common folklore which tell you about how somebody, if you think about somebody negatively, then they will also think about you in the same manner. Which is, if you think negatively about somebody, there is a mechanism by which they will also start thinking in the same manner about you, without even their realizing and knowing. Yes, and I will tell you something about this mechanism working in relationships, because sometimes we think that relationships are what is outside, or giving of gifts and cooking and cleaning and fending for the other person or making their lives comfortable. But actually relationships are more about this connection from one soul to the another. And if you are sustainedly holding good feelings in your heart for the other person, then the other person also will hold similar feelings for you without even you sharing those feelings with each other. Yes, is that possible? Do you understand that happens? So this is the connection I'm talking about. When you tune into a soul and the soul tunes into you, then there is an exchange of ideas, vibrations, radiations, which are not physical in nature. And this is what we say is smriti and sthiti ka connection. So when you tune into somebody, their energy, their vibration, their state of mind becomes your state of mind. All right. Now, when we talk about the connection with God, it is something of this nature. So when you tune into God, it is actually you are tuning in to that entity which you call God, and when you open your mind to connect with that one which we call God, then God's energy starts flowing into us. Okay, your mind and God's mind become connected, and then the energy flows. Now for that energy to flow, now you see in that experiment I talked about, that example of a Bluetooth, both the systems have to be on, right? This has to be switched on and that has to be switched on. Now, are you switched on to God? Now, how do you become switched on to somebody until unless you have knowledge about that person, you know how they look, how they feel, you have a relationship with that person, you cannot connect with them mentally. Can you connect with somebody who you don't know how they look, how they behave? Can you even think about them? Or can you even think about thinking somebody you are not related to? Even if you look at his picture, there will not be much of a mental opening up because there is no relationship there. So, in order to have a connection with God, we need to first have an understanding about God and our relationship with Him. So that is why there is this need to know God before you can connect with God. Yes? Now, when you want to know somebody, then there are 6 things that you have to know about that person. First is name, then form, third is address, qualities, yes, what they do, yes, what can you expect from them, right? Then 6th is your relationship with them. Okay, name, form, address, qualities, their occupation or what they do, and then how you are related to them. And if you don't know everything about the other person, then you can't connect with them for very long. Yes? You can't connect with them for very long. So when there is this question about connecting with God, we need to know God in all these dimensions before we can connect with Him. And that connection can be possible only when we know Him through and through. Right? Now, everybody, if most people, even if not, there are a few exceptions, most people believe in God. Yes, most people believe in God, but most people don't know God. Yes, so believing in somebody is actually about believing in who you think they are. And connecting with somebody is about knowing who they are. Otherwise, you will connect with your idea of them, not with them. Okay. So if you know somebody really, you connect with them. And if you don't know somebody really well, you connect with your idea of them, you don't connect with them. Yes, that is why even in relationships which are so close to our heart, we are not able to connect with each other. Do you see this thing? That we live under the same roof, but there is no connection between each other these days. Why? Because we don't know them. And when you start knowing somebody, now that we have the knowledge of the soul, when based on this knowledge you observe somebody, you start knowing them. That this is a soul, a being of light, a tired soul, a weak soul on a journey, and then they are doing what they are doing because of their weakness, not because of what they want to do. Then you connect with them. And when you connect with them, you are able to color them with your company. Okay, so this is very important to know that if you only connect with somebody based on ego, which is body consciousness, then there is no real connection because you are connecting from a place of your idea of who you are and you are connecting to them, which is your idea of who they are, not to them. So when you become yourself, when you when you are in your spiritual state, when you are in soul consciousness, and you connect to the other person based on the knowledge you have about the other person, then there is a connection between you and them. And as much as you practice this soul consciousness, you will become very aware of this connection that exists between you and the other soul. And you will see that because of that connection, the energy flow is also there. If you send a good wish, they will receive it. Yes? So, are you on with me like up to now? Are you getting what I'm saying, or is there a gap, or is there something you want to ask? Are you with me? Like, is it understandable? Is it comprehensible? Do you get these ideas? Because these are spiritual ideas. And you need to churn them, you need to think about them, you need to convert them into a realization. Because this is about things you can't see. This is about things that are not perceptible through the five senses. So when you are understanding spiritual ideas, it needs some amount of usage of your buddhi and mind in a very concentrated manner. Yes? So this is about the connection. Now when you connect with somebody knowing who they are, then the energy flows to them. Similarly, when you connect with God knowing who He is, then His energy becomes available to you. But you need to know the truth about God if you want to connect with Him. Now, in the coming few sessions, we will understand God, because unless you understand God, you can't connect with Him. Yes, because you can't see God. Can you see God? Can you see God? You can't see. Can you see yourself? Yes, you are a point of light. You are not visible to the naked eye. Are you? Yes, so you can only understand yourself and on that basis realize yourself. You know, this word realize is very important. Realize means you can see only through real eyes. Real eyes. Okay. So we have two eyes. These are not real eyes. These are physical eyes. And then we have a third eye, which is the eye of the buddhi. Understanding ki aankh. And you can only realize when you have the real eye. Okay. So you can only see certain truths through the third eye, which is the eye of realization. Now, God also is only perceptible through the third eye or the eye of realization. Now, why do I say God doesn't have a body? Because when you say God, you use this word Paramatma. Yes? So God is the supreme soul. Now, soul is a point of light. And the Supreme Soul also is a point of light. Because God is also a soul. Yes, Param Atma. So first an Atma, and then what is Param about God we will understand. But first, God is also a soul like I am a soul. And just like you are a soul with a mind, buddhi and sanskar, God also is a soul with a man, buddhi and a sanskar. So God is also a Chetan Satta. You are living, right? Or are you non-living? You, the soul, are living. You are the life force. Yes, you think, you create feelings. You are the life force. So God is also living entity, conscient energy, Chetan Satta, not Jad. When we say God is a point of light, we don't mean that God is a laser light or a bulb light. He is a conscient light, a point of light which has a man, buddhi and sanskar, which can think, decide, yes, which has an energy, vibration, radiation. So that is God. Now, that one which we call God, so we just discussed the form of God, which is a point of light. Now let's come to the qualities of God first. Now, what do you think are the qualities of God? Do you think that God is somebody who would get angry if you did something wrong? Huh? Does God get angry when you do something wrong?
Yeah, we think like that.
Yes, yes. So we think like that, right? So we think that God would get annoyed if I did something wrong, right? So let us discuss the qualities of God. So now you see, just like your qualities are knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power, God's qualities are He is the ocean of knowledge, ocean of purity, ocean of peace, ocean of love, ocean of happiness, ocean of bliss, and ocean of power. Okay? ज्ञान का सागर, प्रेम का सागर, सुख का सागर, आनंद का सागर, सर्वशक्तिवान. You have heard this praise about God, and this is who He is. So in brief we say God is रूप में बिंदु and गुणों में सिंधु. परमात्मा रूप में बिंदु है और गुणों में सिंधु है, सागर है. Now, why is it important to know God? You see, because our idea of God is very different from who God is. And that is why all these years of our life we have tried to connect to God, but we connected only with our idea of God, and that is why we could not receive His energy. Right? Now, just like that sister shared, that our idea of God is God would get angry if I did something wrong. But according to the knowledge that is being given to you, God is an ocean of love. So, can somebody who is an ocean of love get angry? Can somebody who is an Hanji?
It is impossible because in ocean, suppose angry, a glass of water, if we make a glass of water in ocean,
Yes.
its characteristic will not change.
Yes, yes. So that is impossible. God cannot get angry because He is the ocean of love. So the thing is, our idea of God is very different from God. Yes? Now, when I say God is the ocean of love, I must understand that God always loves me. Always. And that is why there is this expression unconditional love. Now you should understand that although we use this expression unconditional love in normal language, day-to-day language, there is nobody on earth, no human who loves you unconditionally, neither your mother nor your father. Nobody loves you unconditionally. Nobody accepts you as you are. Everybody is trying to change the other person or trying to bring the other person to a place what they think they should be like. Yes?
Not even mothers, ma'am?
Nobody.
No, but imagine when a mother gives birth to a baby, I mean, the first thing
No, but when you are a baby, fine. But when you grow up and that mother is in pain because she doesn't like what you do you think she gives you love at that time? Can you be in pain and be loveful?
Momentarily may not be. For that moment she is angry because you did something wrong. But
Yes. So that is what I said, no? Not unconditionally. Not unconditionally and not forever. That love will shift. Yes? And also I will tell you one thing here, which is every soul can only give as much as they have. Right? Now I will give you many examples in this. I know of parents who have been very nice to their children, and every parent does a lot for their children, and they sacrifice their pleasures and their comforts and everything for their children. And I know of parents who have done all of that, and those children have come up to be, when they grow up, I have seen those children, they have acquired many things in their life. They have got a good degree, they are doing academically well and everything, because that mother has burned the night oil and she has made sure that her child studies. But that child is not a happy child or a contented child or a peaceful child. Because while doing all of that, the mother was not a happy or a contented or a peaceful person within herself. She had pains in her life, she had problems in her life, and because of those problems and pain, because the child was connected to the mother, he took all the sustenance and grew up to be an academically strong and developed person, but they also absorbed the pain of that mother. Yes? So the love that should make you powerful is not available, because even when we love somebody, that love is tainted with the pain that is there in us, and there are other things. So there is no power in that love. That love actually makes us very disempowered sometimes. Okay, so this is not about a mother and a child. It is basically the human concept of love and love. Okay, so we are very confused about attachment and love. So attachment is something else and love is something else. Love empowers, attachment disempowers. So what we receive from everybody is not love, although it might be always and sustained and everything. It is not love, it is attachment. And because of that attachment, we grow very disempowered inside, and we are very disconnected from the inner power, and it's a codependent relationship where we cannot survive about them. I had once written a blog on love and drugs. So these days love is very similar to drugs. So as long as you have it, you are relishing it, and when you stop having it, you crave for it. But then there should be a difference between love and drugs. So drugs makes you depleted and it makes you dependent on it. So love is also doing the same thing. So is love the same as drugs? So love should be love. Love is an empowering force in our life. So we must understand that what we think is love is actually a drug that we are all giving and taking from each other, which is attachment. So today, now that the clock is ticking, we will finish here. But tomorrow we will first understand more about pure love, and then we will understand why God is the ocean of love. Okay? Okay, Sheshadev bhai. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tomorrow we will first clarify what love is, because I understand that when we talk in terms of mother's love not being unconditional or forever, it doesn't go down very well. But the thing is, we are not capable of love, yes? So that's why these problems arise. So we will first understand the truth about love, and then we will understand why God is the only ocean of love. Okay? Okay, Shanti. So we will meditate for some time and then meet tomorrow. So sit back. Keep your body still and straight. And take your awareness to yourself. See yourself with the eye of your buddhi. A beautiful shining star in the center of the forehead. I am light, made of light. I am a pure being. Purity is often symbolized by the lotus flower. So I am like a beautiful lotus in the center of the forehead. My beauty, my vibration is internalized in me. I'm so pure that the dirt around me, the negativity, the confusion in the atmosphere around me can't touch me. I stay in this world and its vibration, but they don't touch me. I bloom in full glory. I'm a pure soul, radiating my purity incessantly. Unaffected by the vibration around. I am that lotus in this world, which makes this dirty world beautiful. I am the purity that the world needs. My internal purity radiates to the atmosphere through my eyes. sit in this feeling for some time. I am pure being, and my essence is purity.